the wrong one. See, I don't know what these are for. And it doesn't mount on the radiator. See? It doesn't have these. This is different. You ordered this for a Scat Pack? Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a very different ending to the subscriber Scat Pack Swap Magnum than you or I would have ever thought or expected. So initially, the subscriber messaged me on Instagram saying that he did a Scat Pack swap and that the car wouldn't go in, it wouldn't start, it wouldn't go into run. And I was like, it can't be too many issues. So I gave him a bunch of advice to get it fixed in Michigan, and he wouldn't, it didn't seem like he would take it. So he kept bothering me and bothering me and bothering me to, help him out. Nobody there would help him. Nobody knew what they were doing. And I was like, finally, I was like, okay, bring the car down here. It can't be too many things after, what he was saying and, what he was showing me. Upon the car getting here, it was a complete disaster. Wiring issues. The differential ended up blowing up because he towed it all the way down here on a dolly. So from Michigan to Colorado on a dolly, the differential just, pretty much grenaded. The transmission, I think it was already blown up before he towed it down here, because he said he was towing it around Michigan, and the transmission was in park. So he towed it all the way from Michigan in park to Colorado, pulling the pan. You guys saw the transmission was completely destroyed. The differential was completely destroyed. He never pulled the drive shaft out of it. I think I even told him, pull the drive shaft before you come. And that's, it just continued and continued to go like that from there. So he orders a new differential. Good, we got that in there. Then he ordered a transmission, and it's been 9 months, and most of that time is because he was either ordering the wrong parts, or it was very hard for me to get him to order the parts. I'm not gonna order the parts for him, pay for the parts. It's almost like, that's almost like the feeling I was getting, because I kept giving him more and more parts that were mine. I probably have like $1,000 to $2,000 worth of parts in his car. His brake lines were completely destroyed. His fuel lines, his interior wiring harness, I started to make one of those, but I had to pretty much sacrifice a whole wiring harness from a charger to do that. Those aren't cheap, not to mention all the other stuff that I was giving him, modules and stuff like that. So the first time we went down to Dodge, you guys saw there's multiple CAN bus issues. Nothing would connect. We couldn't see any of the modules. You can't really diagnose a car if you can't see anything. I thought it was going to be something very simple, which when he brought it here, initially, the brake wiring was cut, but it was like spliced together. All the wirings were, all the wires were touching each other. So I was like, man, the ECM could have a short in it because all these wires are touching. The gas pedal was the same way. Multiple RF wires, for the RF hub were touching, and some of them for the doors were twist tied together for no reason. I don't understand why you do them together, but I was like, we're gonna get this thing running. So I'm putting more and more of my time and money into this thing, not expecting anything. I just want to get it running, help him out, trying to just help him. And the longer it's taking, because he's taking longer and longer to order parts, and then also because he's not believing what I'm saying, he's getting more and more mad at me because it's taking so long. So, 3 transmissions later, we finally get the correct transmission, because he kept calling salvage yards. He called the salvage yard in Florida, which he should have paid the shipping back, in my opinion, because he ordered the incorrect transmission. He kept telling them that he had a 2020 when I told them to just give them the VIN off of the swap, which it was a 2017. So the difference between the older Scat Pack swaps and Hellcat swaps and the newer stuff is the pilot bushing for the torque converter, or the transmission. On the older stuff, it's smaller. On the newer stuff, it's larger. They don't go together. You have to swap torque converters, or there's a bunch of differences. So he ordered 2 incorrect transmissions, and then made those companies eat that money because he ordered the wrong one. And he always made it seem like it was everybody else's fault, including mine, that he was ordering the incorrect stuff or doing the incorrect thing. So he gets here Monday. I'm pretty pumped, because I'm like, we're gonna get this, this transmission, finally the right one. We're gonna get in the car. We're gonna get the diff in the car. We're gonna get all that stuff. It's gonna start. It's gonna be awesome. And I get the transmission in there. I get the new diff, you know, the used diff that's like, looks like it smacked a rock. Get the engine bay all dialed in, all the wiring harness, put, you know, brand new brake lines in, get all this stuff, start to bleed the brakes, you know, put some training fluid in the transmission to get it ready to bleed, because there's a procedure on the 8 HPs. You have to pretty much fill the pan, then you have to do a sequence, and they have to actually be in drive because the torque converter needs to spin to fill the transmission. You know, I had, you know, the Dodge dealership help me out cleaning his, you know, tranny cooler, because he ordered the wrong AC condenser and tranny cooler. You know, he had the incorrect fan. He wouldn't order a different fan. He was like just trying to tell me to wire it up when the newer fans have like a resistor in them. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how they're wired. You'll burn your car to the ground. He didn't believe me on that. So we finally get back over to Dodge Tuesday. He was, you know, we go down there, the car's still here. He's supposed to set up an appointment. He's supposed to order a key, and he's supposed to order, you know, an RF module, because that's what it's going to need. We get the car down there. Dealerships, like, they scan it and they're like, yeah, multiple mismatched VINs. You know, the ECM had a different VIN than the RF hub and the key. That's the reason it's not starting. And every other module has different VIN numbers, and some of them have wiped VINs. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to wipe VINs. The dealership's not going to wipe VINs. That's not how you do things. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, all we need to do is program the RF hub and the new key to the ECM. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't think we need it, so I didn't order it. I was like, well, you need to order it, so order it. And I'm not going to hold a grown man's hand. So I'm not going to go up there and be like, well, order it, because I'm going to have to pay for it. So at this point, it's, you know, it's just a disaster to me, because I wanted to see the car run. It does remote start, which is a plus, but once it sees the mismatched VINs, it just shuts it right off, because it's a security issue. The security light's flashing, and it's just very disappointing, because I put a month and a half of just dedicated time, which a shop, you know, any shop would have charged him at least $150 an hour to do all this work, to diagnose all these issues. And I was, you know, trying to help him out. He was, you know, saying that it's my fault the car's not running. And then when we took it down to Dodge, he was expecting them to work on the car for free. He didn't want to set up appointments. Then he, you know, he was getting mad at people that I know down there and have a really good relationship, which looked badly on me. You know, they're telling me, they're like, yeah, you know, he's getting pissy with us because we're not, you know, they programmed his key 8 times for free. But then he was supposed to order a new key, and the guy was like, yeah, he's told us he ordered a new key, and he gave us his old key to program again. So the guy tried to program it, you know, 3 more times for free. So at this point, I feel bad, because I wanted to see this car run. I have so much time invested into it. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, you know, there's probably going to be a lot of negativity towards me, which is, you know, also very disappointing, because I was just trying to help somebody out. You know, but I fixed a lot of issues on the car. I feel that the car is probably, you know, 1,000 times better than when it came. So, you know, I'm sure he's going to get the wiring stuff fixed, but he has taken the car somewhere else, and he didn't believe me on the RF hub and the key. So hopefully whoever else he takes it to can, you know, fix him up on this. But here is I thought that it needed an explanation. So here's the rest of the video, and to what it, you know, take it as you may. He's back from Detroit. He finally has the correct transmission. Pull all the interior out of here. I want to get the dash as well out of here, just so we can get all the wiring done correctly the first time and not have any issues going forward. Then we'll drop the engine and transmission, but it should go pretty quick, I think. key fob not detected.
Yeah, that was the problem. The whole problem.
I mean, there's a lot of problems. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to straighten this up. It's not in right here.
Well, I mean, it's not even to that point. If you're gonna put all that stuff in there, I mean, just throw the seats on top of that stuff. Throw the carpet in there, and
all you gotta do is program the key, right?
I have no clue. I mean, we're gonna try to program a key, but I mean, at this point, if you're gonna just bolt everything in, we might as well just bolt everything in, and then if key works, it works. If not, then it is what it is. But I'm not gonna keep pulling interior in and out, and we're not to the point to do the hatch and the camera and all that stuff. You're like Russian stuff. That's.
I mean, why can't we? What's stopping us from putting doing the camera? I don't get it. I mean, we got. I mean, I don't know. Door handles, like that.
I mean, you brought the car to have me get it started, and then it turned into I need to put a tranny and a diff in it because those got blown up, and then it turned into like rebuilding the whole car for free, which is all okay, but I mean.
You say it like that, I guess so, but I'm trying to do my interior and like I paid too much money to get dusty. I don't know.
Keep doing that, you're just tangling that shit up more and more. All that stuff was just laid over that power wire before. Now it's probably super.
So you saying my seat go on top of this? My carpet go on top of this?
Your carpet goes up there, your seat goes right there. I mean,
I just don't remember it being like this.
well, yeah, it's not done. I mean, you don't need to cut anything. I mean,
this carpet was bad. I got it like.
I mean, you still have to get alignment.
That's all. No,
You still have to have the tranny bled.
Yeah, Josh gonna do that Saturday.
They're not gonna do that Saturday. You have to schedule that shit.
Yeah.
Underneath the car, it looks a hell of a lot better from when I first worked on it and it first came in. We have the new transmission, oil's changed, new oil filter, the exhaust, put that back on. It's kind of a pain because it's all like one welded piece. And the diff looks like it hit a big rock or something. This was the replacement one. But besides that, everything else seems like it should be okay. I had to chase the threads on these bolts, and I actually had to weld one of the drive shaft bolts in to get everything to work. I cleaned the transmission lines and the thermostat, transmission thermostat, and then my friends at Dodge in Pueblo helped me clean the transmission cooler, which was a huge help. So under here, all that really needs to be done right now is the torque converter bolts. I'm going to do those really quick, and then this car needs to get an alignment. But besides that, it looks so much cleaner than before. I mean, this thing, when it came in, all these bolts in the back on the rear subframe, they were all mismatched. There were some M12s and M14 holes, and now everything is good to go. It's all loose because it needs alignment, but that's all it needs in the back and in the front. So let's get these torque converter bolts in. I now have all the torque converter bolts torqued, and then I put the inspection cover back on. Everything over here is tidy. I finally was able to lube the steering shaft up enough to get the bolt in there and torqued. So that is good to go. And then in the back, I hooked up all of the active exhaust wiring, as well as the wiring for the exhaust that goes on the subframe, and one of the speed sensors. The driver's side speed sensor isn't there, and there is no hardware on this rear, any parking brake hardware on the rear of this driver's side. So I was planning on finishing up this car, finishing the wiring. The car pretty much keyed on, showed that it had a theft issue, and that needs a RF module programmed and a key programmed. And after that point, the subscriber decided to start throwing everything back in the car, and that it's like ready to go. All he has to do is take over the dealership. The wiring's not even finished for any of the rear tail lights, the rear parking sensors. The front is pretty much all buttoned up except for the headlights and the speed sensors, since there isn't speed sensors in either of those wheels. So unfortunately, I was hoping to hear the first startup on this car, but I guess after right now, I'm going to pull it off the lift. It sounds like he's going to put the front and rear bumper on it, throw this driver's side seat in it, and I guess I was used. So, you know, I didn't charge a subscriber anything to do this, but unfortunately, no first startup, and a ton of work and a ton of my parts. You know, I redid the brake lines, gave him brand new brake lines from a Charger that I bought originally for the going to be red eye Magnum over there. But, and you know, I had some of my contacts at Dodge help him out by cleaning the tranny cooler and stuff. So, you know, it's 1,000 times better than it was, but it seems like in his opinion, it is worse than how it came. So, gonna pull the FC out of the way, roll it out of the shop, and I guess that's all she wrote, guys. What I need to do now is take the subscriber seats and all this other stuff over to Dodge, and then they could possibly bleed the transmission into alignment, as well as I'm just going to take all the stuff for his car. So yeah. All right, so I guess I'm headed to Dodge. The subscriber just came by, asked me where his taillights were at. I loaded up the truck. Didn't say any other words to me about helping him bring this stuff to Dodge. So I guess he's headed back to Dodge. He didn't say a word. Wow. All right, so just pulling into the Dodge dealership over here. Drop all this stuff off. All right, so we're over at Dodge. You finally got the car to start up for a second. They're gonna program a key. And did you order a new RF hub?
No, I don't need one of those.
All right. And then they're gonna do the alignment, do the tranny fluid, and bleed the brakes. But yeah, you got all the interior back in it, yep. And it should be ready to go in a few days.
Just gotta put that brake line on too.
Yeah.
A little minor stuff for now, but we're getting there, man.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be good. I'm gonna bounce. I mean, you should be good to go.